Welcome to Double D-Fense. I'm Liz.
And I'm Christine.
We're bringing you an all-female perspective on the NHL,
plus the PWHL, college hockey, and everything in between. Thank you for joining us.
It's a double day train. We'll listen to see talking hockey like it's 1994. Gonna win, I mean red tears. They live in decades-long drought. Podcast blazing loud, hockey all
Well, hi, everybody. Hi, Christine. Welcome to yet another very special episode of Double D-Fense.
Yeah, we are excited, to have this extra special, episode with our new friends from the documentary Hockeytown. So
that's right. We have got the creative minds behind Hockeytown. We have the director of this amazing documentary feature film, as well as a cinematographer, Kyle and Trajan. Great to meet you guys, see you guys. Thank you so much for being on Double D-Fense, and we're super excited to hear more about the documentary, the experience of filming it, and hear a little bit more about what your plans are for it. So maybe Kyle and Trajan, if you want to start out and share a little bit about what is Hockeytown for those viewers that have not yet had the opportunity to screen it, I think that would be great.
Yeah. Kyle, do you want to take this one?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me? Am I clear?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah. So thanks for having us. First off, we're really excited. I really appreciate you guys coming out and watching the film in LA at the Chinese Theater. We were there. It was really cool to have you guys see it and get your perspective on it, and really, really helpful for us. And but yes, Hockeytown, to bring you up to speed, is a documentary that we filmed back in season was 21. Was it 21-22, Trey?
Yep.
Yes. So it was a 21-22 season of the North American Hockey League inaugural year for the Anchorage Wolverines. So Anchorage did not have a team prior to that year, and it was set up. And the executive producer is Kari Ellsworth, and she was a sports anchor previously, and she said, she's always been in love with sports, and she said, what kind of story would it be to bring hockey back to Alaska? That was the basis of the film. Was the team was coming, we're getting hockey back, let's capture it and see what happens, and baseline will be a great story. And we weren't even prepared for what happened next, really.
So do tell, what happened next?
So what ended up happening was, in their inaugural year, they made it all the way to the national championship in the North American Hockey League. So was it an accident? What is a divine intervention? I don't know, but we were there. We captured it. We had the cameras rolling, and to this day, we still pinch ourselves that we're even there. And it was a roller coaster for us, roller coaster for the team, and our whole city. It was like our whole city was behind it, and it was just great to see the groundswell of hockey fanism that just took over when they came to Alaska, and it was really cool to be a part of it.
So you set out to film just a documentary about the return of hockey to Anchorage. And all of a sudden, at a certain point in the season, you realized you had something on your hands that was way bigger than what you initially thought. Can you share a little bit more about like those moments as you started to realize that you were capturing something like truly amazing?
Yeah, it was. I mean, there were moments. It was definitely, there were a few moments. It was when the closer we got to the team, we started to really understand who they were and what they were capable of. And I mean, Coach Akins, who was the coach, built the team off character. He said every kid that he got was a character kid, and he wanted good players that had a good head on their shoulders, and he really, really stood by that. And those players that he had were just really solid people, and we could talk to them openly. They were very, they explained to us how they felt, and it really, we started feeling like when we got to know the team that there's something special here. And it slowly worked into, almost like a conversation of like, do we believe this can happen? Do you guys believe this? I mean, they were asking us at the same time. We were kind of part of the team. It was really, really a cool exercise in that way. And when we ended up getting into the playoffs in our first season, I was like, oh, wow, we got a really good story now. We made the playoffs. Like, just that alone for us was like, oh my goodness, it's going to be amazing. But then we slowly started just kind of really rolling over teams, and I was like, what what's going on here, guys? And then it just we weren't caught off guard, but we were kind of caught off guard, honestly.
Yeah, I want to just kind of quickly kind of jump into, again, this documentary is kind of about this inaugural season. So it kind of starts off with, that this was a big hockey town, and that's kind of the premise of it, and that you had lost both your teams, and there hadn't been anything for quite some time. And so, and I know that, I think, Trajan, you played hockey, so you're a hockey guy, but I don't
Yep.
think, Kyle, you were like as involved. You were kind of came in as like, oh, I'll do this project, and then you kind of
Sure.
fell into the life and the motion of it as it went along, which is what we're going to learn more about. But how is just living in that, in that area without, like, how was that mood, like, prior to when you guys started it versus, like, kind of, did you, I just want to talk outside, because we didn't really talk outside as far as the crowd and the family, and that kind of helped build it up as it went through your journey, so just want to kind of get an idea of the town, like, and how it was prior to this team forming. Because the other thing too, as we noticed in the film too, like, so many people came to try out, and that's kind of how it starts. So we had talked about that. You had enough. It's not like you had enough people trying out to create two teams, but they chose the best and they went with it, which helped create this journey of the documentary, that we'll kind of get into more detail. But let's get the mood of kind of how the town was prior to this team, in that deficit of a couple of years where you didn't have anything.
Yeah, I think it was pretty bleak. There wasn't a whole lot really going on as far as hockey is. Maybe high school was probably the biggest thing. But yeah, there just wasn't any like sporting events to go to. I guess there was like some college things going on, but not much hockey. And people.
What other sports are there? What other sports do you guys?
we have college basketball, high school basketball, football. Our college does not have a football team, but high school football, high school basketball is pretty big up here. And I think the focus was really, as far as hockey, on high school stuff.
Yeah, from my perspective, it was pretty. I guess to me, when we had infrastructure for hockey, because we were for all intents and purposes, at one point a hockey town. So we had the Aces, the ECHL team. We had UAA hockey. UAA was actually, at the time we did this documentary, UAA was no longer playing. So we actually had no college team, no professional team. Like Trajan said, it was just high school. So it was almost like we had the infrastructure everywhere. So you drive by rinks, you drive by the Sullivan, you'd go to these places. Oh, well, even then, so in the year 2020, our Sullivan Arena is our main venue where the Aces played and where the hockey rink is at. And that was converted to a homeless shelter for 2020. So actually our rink was now a homeless shelter. And that was, another component of, kind of how it was a little bit of when we first started, it was a little bit of a weird time in Anchorage's history, because we had just come off 2020, the world had got shaken up, but there was a big kind of this, not battle, but definitely the assembly in Anchorage was battling over, hey, we need to do something with, we need a homeless shelter, but where do the kids play hockey? It was kind of this, what side of the fence you were on. So it did build this weird divide in the sense of infrastructure. And that was kind of, we didn't get to elaborate too much on that, but that was part of the story that we knew about, and we were actually tracking. That's another thing, just to give you some insight. We were tracking certain stories in the beginning, and as the documentary unfolded, we would go down different streets. You know what I mean? We actually veer off, or we'd hit a fork in the road where, do we want to take this path or that path? So that happened a lot.
That was, I kind of went in thinking it was going to be kind of more focused on the town, and as we watched the film, and just for our viewers, we were watching the film. These guys were sitting behind us, so you're watching all my crazy note taking and type of thing, along the way. And so, and it got, just as it was kind of, unfolding, it just was, it became more and more exciting because, as you kind of were saying, look, Mike Akins was the coach. He came in and he chose this team. He said, I'm going to build this team. And, and we're gonna do whatever we can. He had a great attitude from the beginning. They were, and you get a really good insight from the office side, from the outside, from the locker room side, and the team side, and so just as a filmmaker, what were the challenges that you kind of if there were any, like what was your the biggest creative challenge you had as things were changing? At what point did you realize that this was that was a path that you were going down? There was that click moment.
I think at the beginning our big focus was we need to get close to these players, because in order to get the drama or their stories, you have to know them personally to some extent. So I think getting close to them was like the first hurdle we had to go through. And then eventually, once we got close to them, we kind of had to do some digging. Who doesn't like who? Why aren't you digging this? And there was some storylines that we kind of went down with all that. Yeah.
And just to take a step back on that, how old are the players that are on this team? Like, what age groups are you following?
I think as they can get into the null as early as 16, but typically it's about 18 to 21.
So those are some formative years for players, and I imagine that most of them, if not all of them, are from the area. They're from Anchorage.
I think there was only about 6 or 7 that lived up here. So for the guys that are from out of state, there was some infrastructure. The guys had houses and stuff where they could all go hang out, but most of them are all
yeah, you did touch on that in the movie, and I love that, because I think you're seeing just so, like, these are years that will formulate, whether they're going to go pro, whether they don't want to play hockey at all. And I think we saw, you really captured very well in the film, like the diversity of those decisions, because, you follow some players that are all for this and are going one direction, and you follow others who, quite surprisingly, decide it's not for them. So that human element, I thought you guys captured so well. And it's so, I think sometimes as hockey fans, especially like of pro teams, and that's a lot of what we talk about on this podcast, we almost forget that, like, they're humans, at the end of the day, they're dealing with so much pressure, and these kids were dealing with so much pressure. And Kyle, maybe you can speak a little bit to sort of some of those moments of intense pressure that you were able to capture on camera.
Yeah, with Hockeytown, it kind of piggybacking what Trey said. He's like getting close to the kids. We really wanted to get to a place to, vulnerability is what we were looking for. Like, we wanted the kids to be vulnerable with us, and actually that was something that in that age group from 18 to 21 is kind of interesting for young men to, like, open up and talk about the things that are really hurting them and how they're feeling. And we actually were able to get there. And that, to me, was what we use that as a through line to kind of understand, and even, in some cases we did build scenarios and things for them to kind of work through some of that as we were doing it, because we were like, this is part, we felt some responsibility, even as, we became very good friends with these players as to, like, hey guys, this is how we see it. We're just outside perspective filming. I had a camera, I saw you guys get into it. What's the deal there? And ask them a question about it straight up. And, they would give us the answer. So to me, it was like, it was that exercise, but, as a journey, it was just, it's just hard I'm trying to recall, like, how it went down, because there were just so many moments right through the whole season.
You did have one that we did talk about, because you kind of in that respect where you like in talking with them, it sounds like you influenced them to have a team meeting. That was one of the, I thought it was a very emotional scene and almost a turning point too in their development and where their team was going. So can you talk about that?
Yeah. So what we had did was, like, again, what I was saying, vulnerability, we started getting to know the players, and we started realizing they were opening up to us about some of the things that were happening on the team. And even, we went to go, as a side note, we went to go, we had a showing in Rhode Island, for the Rhode Island International Film Festival, and actually Jeremy Swayman from the Boston Bruins was at our showing. And so he watched the film in its entirety, and it was really cool to hear him say at the NHL level that type of, like, groups and clickiness and teams getting divided happens at every level. And he's like, the good teams I've been on react to it, understand it's happening, and do something about it. And we, we're older than these kids, and we're like, okay, guys, we do know this is happening. You can sit here and play around and get on each other's nerves for the rest of the season, or we can actually open the floor and let you guys actually discuss and air it all out. And so we did set up a scenario for them to have a conversation about it, and we do feel like it was a turning point in the season, and it really was like a bit of a shot in the dark for us. I was like, we're filming it. We could just say, hey, they're cliquey, let's just let it happen. But I was like, we feel some allegiance to this team, so let's at least try to understand. And actually, to give a side note, I watched during the filming of this, I watched other filmmakers that had I did a deep dive on sports documentaries, and I listened to a lot of other directors. And a lot of the other directors I started noticing said that in sports docs, you can't just capture, you can't just be there. You need to understand and create events and scenarios and build and kind of like be investigative and chase down leads and see what happens. And I heard that coming from a lot of different directors. And so our goal was to try to facilitate those. And a lot of those were what provided a lot of what we put in the doc.
I wanted to ask you about Coach Akins, because he's obviously a central figure in this documentary. He has quite a personality. How was it to work with him, just in like the idea that you were going to be filming him for the whole season? Like, how did he react to that? What was that experience like?
Yeah, what Trey actually, you probably have a funny story of how we got. Remember, did I at the what I said?
I think it was
go check his temperature.
Yeah, it was still in training camp, and we were there. I mean, we're filming for the documentary, but we're also doing promotional stuff for them, and so we kind of had to interact with him, get some sound bites from him for the promotional piece. And I can't remember where it was, but he must have been busy or something, but he was just short and kind of snappy, and that was kind of what I got from him. And I come back to report to Kyle. I was like, he might not be as good as we think. And then I mean, fast forward to the end of the season, he's like the best person in the world. We're still friends with him. We got lunch with him probably a week or two before we went down to LA, so he's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was totally, because I wanted to, I wanted to stay a little bit back and kind of get an overview of what this was going to look like, and just even understand, what and how we're going to do it. And basically, I had Trajan went and talked to him and reported back to me, and he's like, I don't know if he's going to be open to us. And so I finally talked to him. I said, hey,
apparently
Coach, this is where we're at. Yeah, I said, he was like, and he did, he discussed it. He was like, if I have to, there's certain things about this that you may not want filmed as a coach, it's just the nature of this, there's a lot of things going to happen. He even talks about in the doc that, again, character kids. So being that the kids had good character, it was amazing because he still talks about to this day, he did not have to tell us at any moment that we couldn't film something. He allowed, and he was vulnerable too. Like, actually, the Coach Akins is the through line and the main character in our film, without a doubt. And so he needed to be the most vulnerable out of everyone. And he gave us that. And like Trajan said, we are still really, he comes over to the office now and again. We still get lunch with him. I call him and chat with him and his wife sometimes and see what they're doing. Like, we developed a really, really close bond over those 9 months.
And he made me cry.
Yeah. Oh, there were definitely tears. What did he think of the film overall? Was he happy with it?
Yeah, I'll never forget watching the premiere with him. Like, we had our premiere at Beartooth in December of last year, and the emotion was just so intense for him. He's a bit of a crier. He'll tell you that. But he was. The sprinklers were on the whole time, and I'm just seeing it. That was our greatest premiere. Was the one where we sort of premiered it to everybody that was real close to the team, and it was just amazing to see the level of emotion that they got based on it, because it had been 2-3 years since they had gone through the season when they watched it finally. So to relive that, like we had been living it the whole time because we shot it, we're editing it and working through it. But for them, it was a roller coaster of emotion, and he was pretty. I mean, he was speechless for a bit after that. I feel like he just sat there and was just kind of stunned. Because I mean, think about it. You do your daily life and you try to make something happen, but something amazing like that as a coach happens in your inaugural season. You come up to Alaska, move to Alaska from Minnesota, and you're without your family. You're on the road. Like there's a lot of things about it that are just already inherently emotional, and it welled up all those feelings again for him. And but he gave us a hug and he was so happy, and he really felt like we did it justice, and it was nice to show him for sure.
I think one thing that sticks with me, even after one of their big losses, he reinforces to the kids that they have something for the rest of their lives to watch on what some of them called the best year of hockey that they've ever had.
Your season, your shot. The NFL season is rolling, and every touchdown can bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. From first touchdown scorer to anytime TD props or the thrill of live game betting, every snap is loaded with your opportunities. Go ahead and download your app for available lines and odds from DraftKings Sportsbook and get them for any of your favorite teams. New customers, this is for you. Bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, score over $200 of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet, plus over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until cancels. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms limited time offer.
Again, like following this and sitting in this theater and watching it, the emotional roller coaster, because it's already occurred, it already happened, but you're watching all these emotions come through at the appropriate times, and this is all natural and normal. The losses, the loss streaks, we had the office, we had the locker room. At one point I think they're filming in a hotel room and locker room, and I think I looked at Liz and I'm like, I could smell that room right now. I've been there. I'm a hockey parent. I kind of know, but I don't know that other side, so you're able to capture, I think, a lot of different perspectives, from the crowd to the fan, to the coach, to the players, and even the families were kind of in there as well, because there was a loss streak. They almost didn't make the playoffs. Then they made the playoffs. There was cursing and anger, and then when they beat the better teams, there was elation, and I think the story was told so perfectly. And I think you were saying too at the end, where with Coach Aikens, he definitely had an emotional speech. This film makes you cry in the beginning. Then there's moments you can kind of catch a tear, laughing, crying, whatever you're understanding. And at the end, it brings that emotion right back around to the beginning and kind of where you felt that heart for the team, So how is it to be in the room and then have that emotion kind of spread to you behind the camera?
Man, I'm telling you right now, Trey, am I wrong? We all four of us were literally bawling while we're filming. At the end of it, I was
Yeah.
crying. I was full blown crying,
Yeah.
trying to film because I'm like, and because it was just so emotional. I mean, we had just gone and grinded with this team. We had traveled on the road. We had been on the buses. We had like it was. I still talk about it to this day. It was the most interesting experience I've ever had as a filmmaker to go with that team and do this because you get invested in a film, but to get invested like that, I've never had anything like that quite happen. And I've described this at some of the premieres is that if you watch the film, you can see visually how we get closer to the team throughout the movie because we're afar, we're trying to, not get in the way at the beginning, but then, I mean, you're talking about at the final speech, we are literally like damn near on Aiken's back filming, you know what I mean? Like we're trying to hug him, you know what I mean? He is one of us and we are one of them. And I believe that had a huge part to play with it, is that we were able to develop that friendship and that rapport with them, and we learned a ton with it.
I think another thing we were talking about too, and when after the movie when we were chatting was, you were able to capture some really good elements of hockey and even the stress world. Like a lot of times you caught bad calls by the refs, and we felt that emotion. We feel it as fans when we watch and things don't go our way. And in the lower levels of hockey, there's no replays or anything. So I think we were talking about the fact that you guys actually kind of caught, because the angles and what you captured was fantastic to kind of get that element in there again of what goes through a year in hockey. Things don't always go your way, and it looks like some of those games are determined by bad calls. So how did you do anything with that? Did you like kind of, did anything you filmed play into like the team morale, saying it wasn't your fault, or like did anything like that ever happen throughout your journey with them in elements that you might have captured off the beaten path?
I think it definitely helped with some of them. Some guys would ask to see the clip. We'd go back and find a clip for them. Did this happen? And I think it helped with some of them kind of get past it. But I think for the most part, a lot of these guys are really good at kind of just forgetting what happened, get out there for the next shift. And because they're all, I mean, they said it a lot, but they're all pulling the rope in the same direction. And so I think a lot of them, and as Kyle said, they're all high character guys. So they're able to figure it out pretty quickly and get past it.
Yeah, and that's another thing that, just to kind of, another thing that we did where that happened was when we were filming the season. I talked about it. We didn't trade many players. I think we'd made one trade at the deadline.
It was one.
And one trade. And so, like, I talked to some of the other kids on the team. They said my last year when I played in North American Hockey League, it was a conveyor belt of players. I was playing with a totally new line every week. And Aikens from the get-go was like, I'm going to develop these players. I'm not going to just trade them. I'm developing every one of them. And that, in my opinion, that's another thing. A lot of things happened in the beginning that you didn't realize until the end. He developed the players. Yeah. And when we had a bunch of injuries down the stretch, which we 100% did, he would throw anyone in a slot and they would fill in and be able to pull off what was necessary. So it was like this big mentality of next man up. And that's something that I was really impressed to see, is that, a lot of times kids, feel like in hockey that, oh, it's not my shot, I'm not the star right now, but you just never know when your number is going to be called. And that was like wildly apparent to us.
That was a great element to watch with the team aspect of it, because when there were injuries or when the kids were benched, they actually stepped up and kind of got out there to do things. And and that was definitely captured within the film. And I like that, because it's not like I didn't see that in like the youth hockey, so, and I don't know if that happens with other teams, but the fact that, again, you captured it naturally, and they were like, hey, if you're not stepping up and getting water bottles and you're not doing this, and you're not part of this team, it's like, be a part of this team. And that, I think, was such a good quality. in a great detail to capture, in this.
Yeah,
I,
and that's what we tried to
I
do.
capture so many things I love about it. So,
Yeah, because I was like the thing that are interesting are like the little nuances of a team, like the things that you don't know. Like, okay, I get the hockey game, but I don't really understand where they eat, where they go, how do they move, what's the travel like? Is it, how do they communicate with each other? Like, I don't know any of that stuff. And anytime I see any of that at any level of hockey, it's super interesting to me because it's just stuff we don't know. So early on, we were like, we want to put in things that are very non-hockey related. I mean, they're hockey related, but like parts of the team and parts of the experience that no one ever gets to see. And I think that's what makes this film very interesting. And I've not seen anything similar for junior hockey, at least that kind of goes that far.
I think that was one of my favorite parts because half of our podcast is basically speculating on what's happening when they're not on the ice, because we can all see what happens on the ice. We can look at stats and numbers and talk about that all the time. But, I think just, by the nature of Double D-Fense, like this is what we were curious about. And you guys really, really pulled the curtain back on something that's so interesting, especially in such an interesting location. Because obviously being in Anchorage and having the meaning behind the team coming back to the town, like that was really apparent too. So that was very cool. Very, very cool. So I wanted to ask, what do you guys hope that audiences take away from this documentary? Like, if you are somebody who is outside the hockey community screening this movie, what do you want them to know and take away?
I think one big theme was adversity and how to get through it. We saw it all firsthand, and for them to get past that and do what they did in playoffs, I think was just one of the best parts.
Yeah, for me, if somebody watches this doc, I'm proud of the city I live in. I'm proud of Anchorage. I'm proud of Alaska, and we put out the film and some of the trailers, and we get a lot of flack for saying Hockeytown, as I'm sure you know.
I wanted to ask you about that because a lot of the comments, there's a lot of angry Detroit.
The Hockeytown thing is, and I mean, I guess I'm on the thought of all press is good press, maybe, if they're talking about it, it's like, oh, they think they're a Hockeytown. I'm going to watch this movie just to see if it is. I'm like, thank you so much. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, however you got to get them there, let's get them there. But to me, it's I've always said it's like, I feel like we're a Hockeytown. Maybe I'm biased. I'm from here, but if you don't believe us, watch it. You know what I mean? Like, that's my take on it. It's like, I believe we're a Hockeytown. I believe we're a strong hockey community, and there's a lot of that shows up in this film. And we've been living it for years. We've gone through the ups and downs of our Hockeytown. With the teams leaving. All that, like, we know what it feels like. And so for us, for me at least, the film was, I want to show people now we got hockey back, why we are Hockeytown.
Can you describe, just to kind of close on that idea, like, how would you describe your, the documentary to kind of encourage it more in just maybe 3 words? You can go for it.
3 words or 4 words to describe it?
That's the hardest question I think we'll ask.
I think one that we've always kind of defaulted to is it's just a really good coming of age story. A lot of these kids are in their late teens, and we're literally watching them grow up in front of the camera.
That's a good one, because a lot of them have gone on to college and, and other levels in junior hockey and just created their career. I think you focused on a couple of those at the end of the movie, but I'm sure they continue to grow and continue their journeys in the paths that they choose. So, and they've all gone different directions. Some have stopped, some gone to college.
Yeah, that makes me think. That makes me think about something that Trey just said, because what it was we did watch the players grow. Because if North American Hockey League is a junior hockey league, but a lot of these kids had no prior junior experience before this, and the jump from high school to juniors is a pretty big jump for a lot of kids because you're now, as it says in the movie, you're joining the business of hockey. So it's a business. It's professional, and the Wolverines ran their team very professional. And what ended up happening was we watched the kids mature over that 1 year significantly, because a lot of them were just, they had played high school, they had never left home. Like, you think about it, as an 18-year-old kid, you're moving to Alaska to play on a hockey team. You have no you have infrastructure based on the team, but you have to learn it all. Kids were saying they had to do their own laundry, they had to do their, these are things that they just didn't do before. And so those things were the cool and interesting conversations we had down the road, where they're like, man, I learned how to be on my own. I did learn how to be a strong, person and carry myself and be, so there's a lot of that stuff that happened for us. And we try to put that in the film. And one of the iconic shots for me is in the film, we're going to the national championship, the very last scene on the bus, and we're super close to the kids filming, and they are just, you can see, you can see like I don't know, their beards are a little longer, their facial hair is a little bit darker. They looked older and they looked seasoned, and that type of stuff for us was like, like it's like our kids were graduating, and we got to see, we got to go with them.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you're watching it and you're kind of getting drawn into it, and I'm glad that Liz kind of brought up like these ages, because you tend to kind of feel that they're a little older and maybe in their expectations and everything, but they're really not,
Sure.
No.
And so, especially when they can be as young as 16, so you get a little bit more sense of, of understanding too, when you kind of know that, going in there too, because again, you get drawn in as if if you don't know the ending, and you just kind of go for the ride, and
that's what I would describe it. 3 words. 3 words. Roller coaster ride. Roller coaster is 1 word, right? Is that 1 word?
Yeah. Okay, great.
Roller coaster ride.
I know I took that ride.
Yeah, it is. It's a full roller coaster ride, because it is. It's got a lot of ups and downs that we made. And the season was like that. We wanted to put those in. I'm like there were times we were editing. I'm like, this is way too good for way too long, because it got bad. You know what I mean? Like, we need to make sure that we show both sides of the coin, because we did. It was a lot of these up and downs. It was like, because the thought process at the beginning was like, will we even be competitive? We're starting from scratch. All these kids were thrown together in 1 year. And think about it, in the scheme of the league, all the other teams for the most part were established. They have veterans coming back. They have structure. They have their playing facility. We didn't even know we were practicing. So there's a lot of these things that happen. And in a film, and it's an hour and 45, you can't go into all these, but we didn't have a locker room. We had to, the kids were dressing in like the upstairs big open room with their bags spread everywhere and their sticks wherever in the hallway. Like in other teams, you go to their locker rooms and they're like nice stalls, their names are on it. Like, we didn't have any of that. So we were this little rascals thrown together ramshackle team that took it to the national championship. So we're super proud of it.
And so, the travel, we talked about that too,
Yeah, the travel was, the fact that we have to leave Anchorage to every team. Like, our division, we have 2 other teams in Alaska. Kenai, which is, what is that, a 2-hour drive, 2.5-hour drive to Kenai, and then Fairbanks, we fly, which is an hour flight, but a 4 to 6 hour drive or something like that. So these teams, we have to travel in state, and if we have to play a team, we go on the road for weeks at a time, or they try not to make it too long, but you're on the road, you have to travel, and you're not, you don't have the same infrastructure and proximity as all the other teams. So that's another level of the coin that you have to deal with.
I think one thing, in the beginning, we were staying in different hotels, and we would kind of hear murmurs from the guys about things that are happening. We're like, we have to stay in the same hotel. But obviously, being a junior team with 20 some odd guys, they are trying to get a budget-friendly hotel. So some of them were less than favorable, but the amount of insight that we got from just being in the same hotel, being next door to some of the kids, I think that was super valuable.
It's just fun because if you grow up in the hockey world, you travel in a lot of dumpy hotels. It's part of hockey life, I think.
Yeah,
it's the texture of hockey.
Yeah.
I know.
So before we wrap up, guys, could you tell our viewers if they want to screen Hockeytown, where can they see this movie?
So that's a tough
for you?
What's next?
Oh,
So
it's coming.
so
It's
Hockeytown.
coming.
Yeah. So currently we are traveling the film festival circuit. So to continue eligibility, the film has to be screened underneath that umbrella of a film festival, international film festival of some type. So we are on that path right now. However, the season's coming to an end as far as film festivals. So we are actively looking for distribution and are going to have it will be out. We're just not sure what platform and how it will come out. But if you follow us at is it hockeytownfilm.com, I should know the URL. But we have a website that we are constantly putting updates on. Yes, hockeytown-film.com is our website, and it shows what screenings we have, a home and about page, and some photos from the film. But that's where we'll be updating everything. Or follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We're definitely pushing forward, and now that the film is actually out and been shot and kind of like out and people are seeing it, we're starting to create a little bit of groundswell, and the hope is to really have it come out and everybody can watch it. And we've had tons of people that are interested in it, but it will be out soon, and we haven't forgot about everyone that wants to see it.
We are excited for that. And definitely we will be sharing the links for your Instagram and Facebook with everybody. And definitely, we'll keep everybody posted on where you can watch these films as they roll out. And, again, it's truly a ride through a season of the life of this team. And it does capture all the feels, and that's exactly the way I came out of it. That's what my notes were, and so we definitely look forward to your progress and success, with this film. We're in it with you, and we can't wait to see, how it's received in all these places that you want to share it with. So excited.
Absolutely. Yeah, we appreciate you guys we really appreciate you guys coming to watch it. I was so excited when I found out you guys were coming to see it, because again, like I told you guys, we've been close to our audience, and we've seen like people that are really close to it see it, but to see someone who has no affiliation with us watch it and get the same reaction and get all the feels is like, it makes us just so excited. Like it's what we were trying to figure out and see if you guys would enjoy it.